Hi, welcome to MotoTribe. I'm Laura Kraft.
Anna Rigby.
Emily Prince.
Sarah Merrell.
And we are MotoTribe. So today we're going to be talking about social media, some of the pluses and minuses to being part of the social network. So I'm going to kick it off this time and talk about, some of the reasons why I'm on social media, some of the positives that I get from it, and some of the drawbacks and negatives. So some of the positives is if it weren't for social media, I would not have met these ladies. That would not have been possible. I would have been, a recluse and not out there and not connected to these folks. And honestly, I really wasn't using social media before I got into riding. I had kind of turned it off my phone and really didn't look at it that much. But once I got into riding, I realized that the biker community is really strong online. It's a way to connect with like-minded people who also ride and in your area. So that's how I first met Anna. And it was neat to be able to go to the mountains and also understand what are the road conditions up in the mountains today, because we have different groups and you can see, in Blood Mountain, which is our local mountain, what the roads look like. People will post pictures. And so it's pretty neat to stay up to speed with what's going on. So I think there are a lot of positives around it, being connected and then sharing information. But there are also some drawbacks that social media can really suck you in. It can take time. You can be on it for hours and realize, that you've been on it for hours. And that's not always a positive thing because life is going on around you while you're kind of stuck in a looking at a screen. And so there needs to be some balance in terms of how much you use it and how much it directs your life, because it's not the end all be all. You have your real relationships outside of it. So I think that social media is really a way to connect people, but it is not the end all be all connection. That personal connections really happen in person. So with that's kind of the pluses and minuses to kick us off here. And I'm going to pass it over to Sarah for her to talk about her relationship with social media and what she gets out of it.
I think I'm in a similar boat where I wouldn't know you ladies like I do without social media. We didn't meet through social media, actually. We met through an event, Women's Sport Bike Rally, actually. But I think it was seeing you all on social media and what you're doing that helped me, I think, be excited about what you were doing and accomplishing. And so I think it creates another element so that when we did get together, you kind of feel like you know the people already. So I do think that social media is huge in helping people connect. And so I really wasn't, I think, super active on social media until maybe, maybe 4 years ago, maybe. And that's when I started to really share a lot of what I was doing with riding. And a lot of that happens because my husband became the general manager of Teals Gap Motorcycle Resort. So all of a sudden I was at the Dragon, which is a huge motorcycle destination, every weekend. And because I was up there every weekend, I was riding all the time. And therefore all my content was around riding. And the more that I posted about the motorcycling, the more people that I met and connected with. And so it was kind of like a snowball effect. All of a sudden, I met all these different women through social media. And then because I met them through social media, I then got to meet them in person at track days or at different places on the road. And like I've talked about before, seeing Laura and Anna posting a lot about their track days got me inspired to get back into track. So I think social media has that benefit of it can inspire people and it can motivate people. It can bring people together and you can develop friendships from it. And for people who are spread apart, maybe in different other areas of the country, you have that opportunity to have this really wide reach. And so it was a couple of years ago that I did the Women's Sport Bike Rally on the West Coast in California. And as an East Coaster, I felt like I already knew all these women because I was following them and interacting with them on social media. So when I went to the rally, I felt like I had all these friends in California that I had never actually met in real life. And so that was something that was really cool. And so it certainly has its plus sides, but like anything, it certainly has downsides too.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And I think that I would argue that, me and Anna wouldn't have known about the Women's Sport Bike Rally if it weren't for social media and if it weren't for the events that get posted. So I would say we met through social media in ways.
I was not active at all on social media whatsoever, I think, until I started getting into motorcycling. Take that back. I was a little bit active when it was, I was doing a lot of weightlifting and bodybuilding and started reaching out to people that are in the fitness and nutrition industry. And that was, a connection for me early on. But I really didn't get super into it until I started riding. And part of that is, once I started riding, it became important to me to know everything that there is to know about riding. And so in doing the research and looking up things, I'd come across YouTube videos by people that, talk a lot about riding and learning how to ride. And so one of my very first motorcycle connections was my friend Carolyn, otherwise known as Doodle, on a motorcycle. And it was her YouTube channel. And I had been watching that for a while, and I reached out to her. I slid into her DMs on Instagram, and we just, started chatting, became friends, started riding together, and, kind of got to know her. And same with Anna, same thing. I saw her on Instagram, and actually she found out she was local, saw her at my gym, and talked to her briefly there, and then slid into her DMs, and we became friends.
Oh, you did?
I did. I slid right on in. And, it gave me, because I'm not a very, I don't know, people who know me would probably be like, what? But I'm not super outgoing. Until I get to know someone, I'm not someone that's just going to walk up and start talking to strangers. But when it comes to, like you were saying, Sarah, with, social media, you feel like you know these people, even if you've never met them. You have this association with them. You've seen kind of their lives, you've gotten this outsider preview into their lives. So you kind of feel like you know them, which makes me more comfortable being able to just walk up to someone and talk to them, because I've already judged them based on their social media. I've already looked at them and said, does this seem like a person that I would get along with? And if they do, then I'm like, sure, I'll go talk to them. But, without having that peek into how their mind works, I don't know that I'd be as comfortable just walking up and talking to someone. This gives me that, I know I'm going to like this person. So, I can just walk right up and start talking.
Well, that's actually a really solid point you just made that kind of leads me into kind of my way of thinking right now. I follow a lot of people on social media, and it's almost like keeping tabs on everyone. Like you said, I follow people in my circle, in my current state and the surrounding states and the riding community. And it does help me feel connected. I get to learn what they ride, how they ride, what type of a person they are and rider. And it just helps me see if I'll fit into that riding group, for example. When I meet people out in the street, it's like, oh, I think I know you. It is kind of cool to have that introduction almost already. And I feel on social media, we all put out this facade almost of what we want to be perceived. And it is really, honestly, it is, you put your best foot forward, you put out, all of the positive stuff. I think all of us try to put out, as much of reality as is, if something bad happens, I post about that too. And in regards to writing, of course, I don't share much of my personal life on social media. But I feel like it definitely, you do curate what you put out there, your posts. So you create an image. So, and I feel that's important. What you put out is how you're going to be perceived. Obviously, what I put out, what all of you put out, is a very small part of your reality, of your life. But it's important that what you put out, that's all that people know about you. So, if you want to be perceived a certain way, be careful of what you put out there. I know, Laura, you have a a very professional job, and you're very well known in your industry. So you're very careful of what you put out, more so than maybe someone else. Like it's kind of funny. I always feel like I can't have a personal opinion on social media anymore. I work with a lot of brands now. I'm an ambassador for some top companies in the industry. And do I feel like I have to be careful what I say? Absolutely. I have a very dirty sense of humor, and I mean, you ladies know what comes out of my mouth. And that is not always acceptable. I do have to censor myself. I think we all do. So, it comes down to that, like how what you share on social media, how you want to be perceived. It's important. It can make or break you. I mean, it really does come down to that.
I think it lends itself to your credibility, because people will look you up and get a sense of you, and then they'll interact with you and, whatever they perceive. So, what you're putting out is what you're representing. So I do think that is a big part of it. I know for me personally, sometimes I forget that there is an audience out there. Sometimes I want to, because how I got into social media is I was journaling a lot of the time. And so I would journal every day. It was my morning pages. And when I got into Instagram, I was like, oh, then I'll just make Instagram kind of my morning pages. So it was my morning reflections, but really it was for me and not for anyone else. And so sometimes I still have that take on it, that when I'm posting something, I don't realize that there's an audience, that I'm just really like, seeing something, one of my reflections or something that I'm learning or something that I'm doing. And I have to always be mindful that, there is an audience out there looking at it. But I think that we all use social media in different ways. And, there's a lot of benefits to the ways we use it in terms of connecting and figuring out where we can go ride and, meeting other people and getting a sense of who we may want to ride with.
Absolutely. I know for me, I got on social media. I want to say now it's been almost over 10 years that I've had my Redspade account. And it started just purely as a social experiment. I got into photography and I got into writing, and I kind of melded the two together, and it took off from there. I really had no plan. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just sharing everyday experiences, and I was being honest and raw. And, it's kind of funny, some people see that as inspiring, others see it as naive, and it just depends, and I don't care. I don't care how you perceive me. It is what I am, who I am. You take it, you like it, you don't, you move on, and it's okay. And I think that's another big thing that I learned from social media is I'm really sensitive. I had insane social anxiety when I got on social media, and you ladies know me now, and you kind of met me when I got used to being around people. But like when I got on social media, I would get nervous just responding to people in text. Like for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm behind a keyboard, I'm hidden. Like, no, like it was real for me. And it's always been real for me. If I say something to you on social media, I'd say it to you in real life, to your face. like it's not, for me, it's that real. I don't just say whatever to say whatever. I say it because I mean it. So for me, it was insanely stressful. It was a huge life learning experience. And that part was a huge benefit for me. It brought me out of my shell. It made me comfortable to be around people, and really helped me get over that social anxiety. But with that, comes a lot of negatives too. The more you get out there, the more, kind of nasty people you meet, and you have to learn how to deal with that. So it's definitely a trial by fire on social media. I think everyone is, open to say and speak their mind. So it's what you make of that, I think, on your end, because in the end, it's what matters in your surrounding circle. You can't take it, super personally. It's not a reflection on you, what other people say to you, so you can't take everything personally either. So it's a great learning experience on that side. You grow a tough skin.
You have to be so careful with what you say. And because, context is not there, people can read whatever they want into your words, and then they can interpret that however they want. And so I know something that we've all done with each other in our group chat, if we get a weird message or have a comment on one of our posts and we're not sure how to respond, we will post it to each other and say, okay, what do you think this person meant? How should I respond in a way that's like not going to offend them, but not going to but still get my point across? Because, they'll take something that you say and just run with it and make it into something that it was never intended to be. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, I'll type a response, then read it and go, let's start that one over. Delete, try again.
Yep.
Because I don't ever want someone to misinterpret what I'm saying and use it against me or, think something of me that I was never intending with that comment. And so, it's one of those tricky things where, what you say on the internet, it lives on the internet. People can screenshot it. People can use that, even if you delete your comment, guess what? It's already been screenshotted. If it was something that, people were surprised by or shocked by, now they've got an image of it that they can turn around and use however they want. So you just it can be used as a weapon. So it's, yes, it's a benefit, but it's also scary when you think about, what all is said and done and everything that's posted can come back to haunt you at any point.
Yeah, I think for sure the thing to take away from that is think before you speak. I mean, that should be, something our parents should have taught us, as kids. I feel like, I hate to say it, but I feel like the younger generation is kind of missing that these days. Like they jump to a lot of conclusions and, I'll catch myself sometimes jumping, but, I always sit back and before I open my mouth and say something, you think about it, think about the other person's perspective, and kind of see, can I see this from a different, way? I mean, it's what we see in our mind is just from our perspective, and everyone else has a completely different perspective. And we need to realize that.
Yeah, I think you add a really good point. And, one thing that I've tried to be really cognizant of is if I do post something, it is public. And so why would someone want to look at this photo that I'm posting, or why would they want to read my caption? And I always try to ask myself that, like, what is it that I'm delivering in terms of value to whoever's looking at this? Can I add something to someone's life? And that's what I try to do, because I guess in my mind, I think of things that they need to have a purpose. They need to have a reason. Otherwise, then it's pointless. So sometimes I have a hard time just posting to post that, I want to post with some sort of idea in mind. And I do think about a lot of things. I write all the time. I have a lot of thoughts. And so, sometimes it's just like, processing something and, wanting to hear what other people think about some of the opinions that are rattling around in my brain.
I think it's also important to touch on influencers, because that's such a big trend. And I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And I think a lot of people, it's a subject that a lot of people don't quite understand. And I think especially in motorsports, there's some confusion around that. And you all talked about trolls and people being negative and sometimes being antagonistic. And I think sometimes when people see other people getting opportunities, that negativity can come out. But what it really comes down to with social media and influencers is marketing and advertising. And these brands, they've got a budget that they spend on sponsored racers. But then if they want to reach outside of their own audience and tap into a completely different audience, then they're going to utilize some influencers. So if a brand is trying to reach women motorcyclists and they don't have an audience that's made up of women motorcyclists, then they're going to tap into women who have engaged followers. and they're going to utilize them. And so when a brand utilizes someone for social media, it's a great opportunity. And I think all of us have had really, really positive experiences working with brands and collaborating with them. But I think there is that confusion sometimes that just because a brand works with an influencer, it doesn't mean that they're not also supporting racers and other people. And I think part of this comes from, I work in marketing and public relations. And so I manage influencer campaigns for brands. And I know what we look for when we reach out to different people. And it's a big opportunity, but there's, I think, the perspective from the brand and then the perspective of people who do that sort of work themselves. And sometimes I think it's hard when when that's kind of part of your personal business to do some of that, to be able at night to put the phone aside and to not respond to comments and to not respond to messages and to not be checking your phone and responding to emails, and just having that digital leash, and to let that go and spend time physically with the people around you. Or even sometimes it's just freeing to be like, okay, I'm going on a ride and I'm not going to take any photos. I'm not taking any videos. I'm just going for a ride. And that can be, I think that's just such a great feeling to be able to do that.
Oh my gosh, you nailed like two topics that plague me personally so much. I want to say, like, a few years ago, I just got obsessed in social media. Like, once I got sucked into it, like, I wanted to grow the following. I wanted to make my followers feel appreciated and welcome. So, and I create relationships with them, obviously online relationships. And many of them have actually turned into real life relationships. We meet at races. One of my best friends, Minji, we met on social media just because we rode the same bike. We started following each other. 4 years later, we met at a MotoGP, and now we make it a priority to meet every year, go to a MotoGP together. We visit each other. So friendships do form from social media, but you have to be really careful too, because it is a huge time sucker and it can take away from your significant others, and I ran into that problem where I was on my phone 24/7. I became ADD. Like, I got bored. I didn't even realize that I would pick up my phone and start scrolling. And I literally needed my husband to smack it out of my hand. Like, seriously, you're here right now with me. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I am. So it actually took a lot of effort to unlearn those bad habits, because social media was designed to be addictive. We've all seen we've read the articles, we've seen the documentaries. We know that this is a huge marketing ploy. Let's call it what it is. And while there are wonderful things about it that bring us together, it's too much. It's super addicting. The whole likes and followers, it's insane. It's crazy. Personally, I wish social media got rid of likes. And she's on her phone. I love it. Like, I would seriously love for there to be no likes on photos and videos, because it creates an addictive and competitive scenario that is not necessary for us in real life to deal with. Like, some people get really sucked into it, and it's not necessary. What value is a stranger's like giving to your life? You gotta just really think about that.
There's a strong negative right there. The competitive, the comparison, I've found that people get so sucked into, why is this person more successful than I am? Why is she getting more likes? Why is her content better than mine? And it can absolutely drive you insane, because a lot of times there is no reason. Like, we've had conversations where we've sent each other pictures like, how does this girl's photo have like 20,000 likes on it? And it's literally just her like standing there looking off to the side. It doesn't make sense sometimes. And it's not that she's better than anyone. For whatever reason, that photo took off and her followers liked it. And that has nothing to do with me. That has absolutely no part in my life does not mean that what I'm doing is any less important. That just means that 20,000 people liked her. You know, like you can't use that. And unfortunately, with there being the likes, with there being the how many people follow you and all that stuff, it becomes a very like, here's the scientific, oh, this person has more likes than me. And so you can see that and it becomes reality, you know? So I agree with you, like not having that stuff be visible could take some of that away where you don't feel like you're less because someone has more.
Especially the younger generation right now that, the 20-something-year-olds and younger that don't know life before social media, like you and all of us, like we're old enough that we been there before social media, before MySpace, before any of that. And so we know, like, we can survive life without it. Like, I don't need some stranger's approval, to validate my happiness of life and well-being. But I feel like it's such an easy trap to fall into now for the younger generation that doesn't know that this is natural for them. And all I'm just saying is that, like, you've got to rein it back. Like, it's not natural. Like, it's like, strangers should not be validating your life and your quality of life. That happiness needs to come from within and your surrounding friends.
So I have a comment on that, being the mother of the group. And I am a mother of a 12-year-old girl. And so she is at that age where, she has a cell phone, she's on social media. And the funny thing is she's kind of come to me and she's like, Mom, I don't really like social media. And I think you should probably get off of social media so much, because she's coaching me over here, because I think that it's starting to come around for the younger generation. They're like, I don't want to be on Instagram. Like her and her friends are all like, I don't care about Instagram. I don't care about likes. They like doing Snapchat and they like TikTok because they make funny videos, but like, the whole obsession with getting strangers' approval is kind of, to them, it's like, that's stupid. And I'm like, good.
I'm so happy to hear that. Oh my God. Like, you have no idea. Like, I hope to God that there's more kids that feel that way, because for sure this is no way to live your life.
So I have some thoughts, and same thing to kind of go along with what Emily was saying. So I have a niece and some nephews, and they are a little bit younger, but they have a Facebook, but really it's just so that they can do like a virtual reality, the Oculus glasses or whatever they are. And then they do have an Instagram, but it's private and they don't really get on it. So I do find that interesting that, maybe, and I've heard this recently, that, Facebook used to be the thing, and then it was Instagram. And then a lot of people are like, oh, Instagram. And, I think things are more moving towards YouTube, because I think that the people who've gotten on Instagram and that, have really made it have been there for a longer period of time. And then the new ones coming along are just replications of it. I'm not sure how much value people are still getting from it. I think when we're in a community like the biking community, then you can still get value because you're, interacting with people that you may see on the road and, you may see out and about. And I did notice that when I got into social media, in particular in the biker community, I think our community is a lot more close-knit than other communities. If you're not in the biker community, I don't think people use social media as much because or maybe if you have a hobby, then you're in your little hobby thing, just like motorcycling. But yeah, so I'm just really curious to see where it all goes. I think it is more going to content like we're providing here, of people actually talking and giving opinions, and, us becoming somewhat like, instead of people turning on TV, they're looking at YouTube. I know that's what I do. As I don't watch TV anymore. I just hop on YouTube and I watch actually a lot of podcasts, and I watch a lot of other, people out there that are sharing information. I find it more intriguing and more interesting.
Absolutely. Like I remember when stories came out on Instagram, for example, and that was like, I guess that was to compete with Snapchat. I'm assuming I actually never got on Snapchat, so I don't know much about it. But I remember at first I was a little adverse to it. I didn't get it. And then eventually when everyone eased into it and got comfortable and everyone was using it, it was kind of cool. Like if I wanted to kill, like if I was just feeling completely brain dead, exhausted after work, instead of turning on TV, I'll just get on my phone and I will see what my followers are doing, or I should see the people that I'm following, what they're doing. It's kind of cool because we all get to star in our own reality TV show. So it's like, MTV Real World, but this is our life now, which I don't know how good that is, but it is kind of cool. Going back to what we said, we do kind of get this feeling of getting to know people that we follow a little bit more closely. Like Sarah, you live so far away from me. You live 3 hours away. Laura, you're about an hour away. Emily, you're down the street. But regardless, whenever I see any of your stories, I love it because not only do I personally know you, but now I feel immersed in what you're doing, and I get a snippet of your day, and I feel closer to you. So in that sense, for the people that I know, especially the people that I can't be around every day because of distance, geographical distance, I love seeing their little snippets, stories, whatever. It does help me feel connected and close to y'all.
I feel like I've met a lot of people and gotten to know a lot of people because like I would post a story and then I would get responses. Mm-hmm. And, the responses are personalized responses to me. And then I'd start a conversation. I've made lots of friends just through, posting a story and getting responses back. And you get to know people like, I'll post something. Oh, I'm going to start racing next season. And I think I probably had like 30 conversations that day with different people talking about racing, talking about what to expect, talking about, oh, I'm going to be in your class. And I got to know a bunch of people. So then when I actually got to like the races and started doing like the practice, everyone come up, they're like, oh, remember we talked, I'm so-and-so, we talked about racing. And so it like went, it wasn't even that scary because I felt like I went in knowing half the people I was gridding up with because I talked to them on social media. It was like, these are my friends versus it being a bunch of strangers that I, could be scary. I'm over here like, oh, so-and-so just passed me. I know him. He's funny. We talked about tires,
See, and that is beautiful because with going back, like with my insane social anxiety that I grew up with and all the way through college, I didn't have any friends, like none, like you have no idea how terrified I was. Like people thought that I was stuck up because I would walk into class and just like not make eye contact and whatever. And it's like, no, you don't realize I am that terrified of like people and being out there. So for me, just going to school was horrifically terrifying. And so having that in social media, like being able to like slowly introduce and talk to people and then open up more and more for like, that's a great practice. And then to get out in the real world. And yeah, the first few times it's awkward, but then it started becoming natural. And yeah, like my first trip out to California, I went out, Denise flew me out for opening a store in Orange County. And we did Jason Pridmore school. I didn't know anyone out there. I was freaking out, like, because I was still super anxious, but having like met those people at least through social media and then getting introduced to them, it's like, okay, we've had a few conversations. It definitely calmed my nerves when I finally got out there. So yes, this is a huge benefit in that sense for sure.
Yeah, I think it helps that when you're on social media, sometimes people, because I'm kind of the same way, I think sometimes I get a little social anxiety. And so it does help when you can be out and about at a motorcycle event and someone will be like, oh, hey, I know you through social media. And it just breaks that ice and puts you at ease. And you're like, oh yeah, like I know you too and follow you. And it's just so nice to be able to have that camaraderie and especially within the motorsports industry to be able to go and do different things. And I feel like now it's like we can go to all these different events, the track day or the Dragon, or I even went to like this Parts Unlimited show and ran into all these people. And so it's just, it's one of those just really fun things to see people in person that you've been following and interacting with.
Look at this picture right here. Me and Anna were riding.
Oh, yeah.
And this group of guys came up to us and were like, "Oh yeah, we know you from YouTube." They said YouTube.
I was like, what? Really?
Which was nuts. So it's pretty neat, you know, when you're out and about and you're riding and you run into people, it's like you meet new friends all the time. But I think that this community is an anomaly, because I don't think that this always happens in the other parts of social media
No.
that aren't motorcycle related. So I think that, you know, we're lucky that we get kind of the positive of social media, the positive sides.
I often wonder if it is like like you said, an anomaly in our community, or if this happens in other, like, I don't know, what are you into, rafting or painting? I don't know. Like, does bodybuilding? I mean, gotta be a thing, right?
There are groups and you would kind of get to know people, but it was not the same. You know, like, I think because with motorcycling, you're out and you run into these people all the time. You know, like, I always, anytime I go to anything, like either I'm going up the mountain or I'm going to a track day or I'm going to a race day, or, you know, even out like at the gym, I'll have people come up. They're like, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram." You know, and they'll start talking. They're like, "I had a motorcycle 5 years ago." And you know, like, you just instantly have this bond over bikes. And like, I've never been in anything else that's got that same kind of like, "Oh, you like bikes? I like bikes. We're friends now." You know, like, it's an immediate bond, and it's, you know, so easy to make friendships. And I feel like everywhere I go, I'm never alone, you know, like, I feel like I'm always seeing people that I know or know me. And I'm just like, this is, I don't know. I do think that it is an anomaly with motorcycling that we're all out here doing something that's dangerous. We all kind of need each other's help at some point or another. I don't know a single motorcyclist that has not had to ask another one for advice or for help or for, "Hey, I just crashed my bike. Can you come pick me up, Anna?" Like, there's always something there. You always need someone at some point. Like, no one can do this without help.
That's a very, very solid point you just made there. The whole, like, it's an intimidating sport. And when you're learning it, when you're new to it, you know, it is amazing to be able to find other people that are also into it, and whether they're more experienced than you, and you can learn from them and ask questions and have them teach you, train you. Like, I have social media to attribute a lot to that, because I've met so many people thanks to it that brought me into and taught me and put me where I am right now. I mean, quite frankly, if it wasn't for social media, I would not be where I am right now.
Yeah, if we think about social media and it being entertainment, I do think it is more of a real form of entertainment versus like TV shows or scripted, and you kind of can get the pattern of how things are going to turn out. But I think social media, you get to see the raw sides of people, and, you know, it forces us to grow in many ways. So I think that is a neat component of it. But, you know, ladies, I think we need to wrap this up. So, you know, what is your advice to folks out there with social media? You know, how to use it, or, you know, what to avoid? Any kind of final thoughts?
Just be very open-minded to what people say to you, but take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, in the end, unless someone physically knows, you know, everything about you, your friends, family, you know, don't let what they say get to you. Again, there's wonderful people out there with great advice, and then others with not so great advice. So just, you know, take everything with a grain of salt.
The social media, it brings people together, but you also have to be careful sometimes, I think, when it comes to who you ride with. So I meet people all the time via social media, but I'm very careful and kind of choosy about who I ride with, only from the standpoint of safety. And I feel like I have to know who these people are, what their riding style is like before riding with them, because I have been in some dangerous situations with other riders. And so that's something to think about too before you just go and accept rides with people.
Yeah, I think it's an easy way to just do a little quick background check on whoever you're gonna be meeting up with. And I think that's a great point. So I think with that, ladies, this was a great episode talking about social media. It sounded like we have a lot more positives than negatives.
Definitely.
So with that, until next time.
Bye.